I will not speak much. I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions. So in case there is anyone, we have an expert panel, as you can see, and we will try and answer your questions. Any questions, please? Sir.
My name is Anup Bose. I'm a senior advocate of the Supreme Court. I'm also a special advisor of Tata Consultancy Services. I'm also an advisor to Grintex, which is a strategic partner of Raytheon and EADS. And I also am the global counsel of an American company called Sparta Matrix, which is primarily into satellite tracking and logistics. Now, apart from my own credentials, my starting point would be Commander Mukesh Saini, that China is the biggest culprit, and then the remark of the Admiral of the Pacific Fleet, who was here recently and said that we are wary of the Chinese. Now, I'm taking a situation where China decides to attack us, and I presume that conventional and nuclear weapons will not be abandoned. In a situation like that, will a cyber attack precede a conventional or nuclear attack? Will it go hand in hand, or will it follow an attack? And in each of these situations, how best do we defend ourselves? I think Gautam and Commander Saini would be able to answer that. And the second question, perhaps Venkat could enlighten us, something different, you see, where the attack is not from outside, is not from without, but from within. There I go to the case of the British government. In fact, I happened to be in London in 2009, and I had the privilege of delivering a speech in the committee room of the House of Lords on this very issue of this digital fencing, where the British government under Gordon Brown had given a contract to a Chinese company to upgrade their defense systems. And what the Chinese did, they intruded into the entire system and took out all the data. In a situation like that, and particularly now that we are cozying up again to China, and even our foreign minister said this is a wonderful country, we would love to live there. So if we bring them into the picture, you see, and in a situation like this where they collaborate on something that we are doing, they would intrude into our system and take our all. In that situation, what do we do? Suppose they come in and you give them a contract. What happened in England? And in fact, that was one of the reasons why Gordon Brown lost the elections, because he allowed England to be attacked or to fall a victim to a cyber attack, which went into the entire core of the defense system. The Chinese were brought in to upgrade, and what actually happened, they lost all the data. So these are situations where I think we need to address ourselves, you see. China again being, you see, the greatest culprit, you see. And we have to be very, very, and in fact, I remember that on a very lighter note, since we've had a very heavy and serious discussions, I ended my speech in the House of Lords where I quoted Churchill. And when he said that trying to be friends with the communists is like wooing a crocodile. You don't know whether to tickle it under his chin or hit it over his head. When it opens its mouth, you're not sure whether it's smiling at you or will gobble you up, you see. So that's important.
The question regarding China carrying out cyber attack preceding conventional or nuclear attack, whatever it is. This is what my thrust was. When you use the term warfare, you want to go whole hog and you want to make the enemy submit to your will. So therefore, just a cyber attack, it is a military attack on India, will never be launched in isolation. Because, in light event, cyber attack, even if your power grid goes off or your traffic is mismanaged, India will not be so badly affected because our traffic and our power sectors, we know how already mismanaged they are. So, to that extent, we will not kneel down just because of a cyber attack from China. Not yet, presently at least. And therefore, cyber attack from China will come against India only when it is going to be one of the preliminaries or concurrent operations of war. This is what my... otherwise, they keep on snooping, they'll keep on intruding into your cyberspace, sabotage, your data or carry out espionage, which are basically civil functions, which goes on. That will go on. This is what my
Sir, the cyber war in a politico-military function will proceed in case a nation decide to go for war. Will always proceed. First thing. And it will be the part and parcel of the actual warfare. For example, when the war is broken out, proceed is well known, well established fact. Whether we take Georgia or whether we take now North Korea, South Korea, recent incidents. But let's take when the war fully broken out between, let's say, one of the neighbor and us, then they can, let's say, disrupt our train movement. No, military won't move. The power supply when went last year, the train didn't move. We have to realize when this happened during wartime, we cannot say because of our inefficiencies, we are capable of taking this load. Sorry, we will not able to take on this load in case of wartime. It is okay in the peacetime. It will not be okay in the wartime. One. Number two, it's my personal assessment, which may be 500% wrong. The Mangalore air crash in which everybody died is a cyber attack. I am making that statement with full knowledge and understanding what I am saying.
Yeah, any more questions? Mike.
I don't have a question, but I couldn't agree more with Commander Sani. You see, we are in the process of finalizing our policy for procurements, important procurements, particularly dealing with the infrastructure sector. We buy it from anybody. Again, the same scenario we find that 70% components are Chinese. So despite all our efforts, we are unable to avoid China completely. I don't know to what extent the policy of open and declared policy of not having Chinese equipment is going to help. We would rather do well to develop our own expertise in locating those what you call the holes or the vulnerabilities which are getting connected to China. There is no other alternative.
Sir, ISC Bangalore is working on it. They have already the platform and where they are testing out. Though they are getting blamed because the investment into making that platform is by Huawei themselves. Huawei says, please test our equipment, and this is a test bench you buy from anywhere in the world and put it up. So Huawei says, my system are clean. You test on any test bench and I'll even pay the money for test bench. Now the test bench is established and functional at ISC Bangalore. Any equipment can get tested there to whatever extent it is possible, feasible in given point of time. But then people are raising bogey that the money is paid by Huawei, so they have a stake in it.
The easier answer to this is, in fact, if you try to locate the malware or whatever program they have built in to sort of snoop upon your assets, the easiest answer is to create an algorithm within yourself. It's cheaper to change the output. The parameters of the output can be changed. It is easier, you don't have to search anything. Any equipment that comes, like any book that comes, there is a stamp placed on the book. Similarly, any equipment that comes is introduced, that small little chip or whatever program is there, that can be developed.
Of course, that's coming in our policy now.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's been a most interesting session. And I think Mukesh mentioned Operation Hangover. So it is now time possibly for the real hangover. So I must thank the speakers and I must thank Geo Media for giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much. The session is now closed and handed over back to the organizers. Thank you.